If you can't make ends meet with a take-home pay of $2,500, get out!
Saying this, my husband forced me to leave. When I woke up the next day, I found a large number of incoming calls from my husband.
Hey, where's the key to the safe?
That's the type that can only be opened with a PIN code. Then, my husband went through hell. My name is Amelia, and I'm a 32-year-old office worker. My husband Lucas and I have been married for almost 3 years. We were originally classmates in college and started dating when we met again at a class reunion. At the time, I was heartbroken after being dumped by my longtime boyfriend. I reconnected with Lucas for the first time in a long time and felt comfortable with him, which brought back the nostalgic feeling I had when I was a student. We started going out for drinks after work and started dating. Since we had been friends since school, we didn't have to worry about each other, and I was able to talk about many things and be myself. We continued to date well, and after about a year of dating, we decided to get married. I was almost 30 years old, and I wanted to get married while I was still in my 20s. Lucas was working for a company that paid him a low salary, but he seemed to work hard, and I was working as a company employee myself, so I knew life would be fine. We then officially got married. In the beginning, we had a lot of fun because we were newlyweds. Just being together every day made me happy. But as we continued our married life, there was something that bothered me a little. My husband did not do any housework at all. I was the one who cooked, cleaned, and did the laundry. Hey, why don't you do a little bit of the housework too? It's hard for me because I'm the one who has to do all the chores. I complained to my husband, but he would not listen to me at all.
I've never done housework before.
I see. My husband had lived at home since he was born and had never cooked or washed a day's laundry. I had no idea that he had never done that much housework. Then you can learn little by little. I'll teach you, I suggested to my husband, but he refused.
No, I always work late. There's no way I'm going to do the housework after that.
My husband certainly works overtime every day, but I didn't really understand why I was the only one who had to shoulder this additional burden. Besides, I made more money than my husband, who worked a lot of overtime and came home late. So I was not satisfied with the situation where I was the only one who had to do the housework. However, my husband stubbornly refused to do the housework.
I'm the head of the family and I work hard. As a wife, I need you to support the family.
If that's the case, I want you to earn more money. But I couldn't say such a thing, and I had no choice but to do the housework by myself. I was dissatisfied with many things, but I still liked my husband, so I did my best at housework and continued to work hard. But then, my husband made an unexpected comment. It was one day at dinner.
Amelia, when are you going to stop working?
What? What do you mean?
When you become a wife, you quit your job and focus on the family, right?
Wait a minute. I'm not going to quit my job.
Huh? Don't be ridiculous. I've been told at work that it's impossible for a wife not to be a housewife. Don't embarrass me anymore. So quit your job right now.
I was surprised to hear my husband suddenly say such a thing. I don't know if it was a co-worker or boss who said that to him. But ain't the people at his company crazy too? It's normal for both people to work nowadays, and if anything, my salary is higher than my husband's. If I quit my job, we would have a hard time making ends meet. It's not realistic for me to quit my job. How are we going to make a living? Are you going to lower the rent on the house we are living in?
No, I'm not moving out of here. Why should we have to lower our quality of life than we do now?
That being said, your take-home pay is $2,500, so you're going to have to save money to make ends meet. The rent for this room right now is $2,000. That leaves you with only $500 left.
It's the job of a stay-at-home wife to make ends meet.
I was absolutely mortified when my husband started talking like this. I wondered if he had any concept of utilities, water, electricity bills, and so on. $500 a month is just barely enough for food. There is no way we can make a decent living. I pleaded desperately, but my husband would not listen to me at all.
I've never had any problems before I got married, so you just have to make it work.
I was taken aback by my husband's unreasonable attitude. My husband had been living at home with his parents, so it would have cost him very little money to begin with. I would not like him to impose his sense of that time on me. However, my husband insisted that I become a full-time housewife, and I had no choice but to comply with his request. With a downcast look on my face, I asked my boss for advice.
Amelia, are you sure you want to quit?
My husband really wants me to be a full-time housewife.
Oh no. Are you sure there's nothing you can do about it?
He won't listen to me at all, no matter what I say.
I see.
My boss was very confused. Then, after thinking about it for a while, he made this suggestion.
Why don't you treat it as a leave of absence for now, and then try to work from home?
What? Work from home?
Yes, I'm sure your husband would agree with that. From the outside, you will look like a housewife.
I see. I thought it was a very good idea. If I was allowed to work from home, I could concentrate on housework, and on top of that, I would have a solid income so that I could lead a good life. I immediately decided to take a leave of absence under those conditions, and I didn't tell my husband about this and said that I had resigned from my job. When I told him I had quit my job, my husband looked satisfied.
Now we can both finally do our part. From now on, don't skimp on any of the housework.
My husband laughed. I felt that he really didn't understand my situation, or that he was too naive. Well, as long as I work hard behind the scenes, we'll be okay for now. I was given a month leave of absence for now, and then I was to work from home. After actually living on leave for a month, I realized that this was a really bad idea. My husband's salary was too small to make a decent living. First of all, we had to pay $2,000 in rent, and then another $100 or so for water, electricity, gas, and utilities. At that point, we were left with only about $400. On top of that, the Wi-Fi at the house and the communication fee for the smartphone would also take away about $100. So I would only have about $300 left to spend on food. That is a very low level of food cost for a single person. But this was our budget for food for 2 people. It would be impossible. However, I wanted my husband to understand how difficult this situation was. So I dared to try living on his salary alone for a month. If he lived like that, he would understand how small his salary was and how impossible it would be for the 2 of us to live together. My husband was getting more and more grim-faced day by day. That was understandable, because I had cut our food expenses to the limit, so the food on the table was very little and frugal.
Is it just bread again today?
Yes, that's right.
Yesterday, it was noodles, and today it's bread. Are you even trying to cook?
What are you talking about? We are eating like this because we have to cut back on our food expenses.
What? That's impossible. Before we got married, I could eat a lot more nutritious food.
That's because you are living at home, right? It was your father who was paying for your food, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. I was putting money in the house. I was putting $500 in the house every month, which means I was paying for the food.
Even if he had to put $500 in the house, he would not have had to pay anything else, so he would have $2,000 in free money to spend. We only have $300 to spend on food after all other expenses. Why can't he do that kind of a calculation or thinking? I didn't think that my husband was such an uncommunicative and uncommon person. Is he out of his mind, working for a bad company that only makes this much money even though he works overtime every day? I even had such suspicions. Can you get a little bit more of a sense of how your money is moving, or how much you are making and what you are spending it on? I showed him the bills for utilities, gas, and rent. If I went this far, he would understand how difficult it is to live on my husband's salary alone. But my husband would not even look at them.
Cut the crap. I've had a normal, trouble-free life. It's your fault that my meals are frugal and that we can't make ends meet. Now that you're a housewife, you should do better.
My husband yelled at me and went back to his room. With a sigh, I put the dishes he had finished eating in the sink and washed them, leaving them on the dining table. I didn't think he was like this before we got married. I guess you can't really understand a person's nature until you live with them. I immediately started working from home. I decided to live on my savings until my next payday. Even so, I decided to live on my husband's take-home pay of $2,500 plus a little extra, so that we could save as much as possible. Basically, my husband's salary will cover our living expenses, and I will use my savings to pay for the food expenses. Therefore, the food we usually put on the table become more nutritious, and the number of dishes increased. My husband seemed satisfied with the improved diet.
See? You can do it if you try. Why didn't you take it seriously from the beginning? It's obvious you've been slacking off.
I was extremely angry at being told such a thing, but I persevered. I had to hold out until I got my next paycheck. I spent the rest of my busy days juggling housework during the day and my work from home job. Finally, a month passed, and my salary and my husband's salary came in. I kept my bank documents at my parents' house because I was afraid of what my husband might do to me after I found out he was insane. As long as I had my debit card, I could withdraw money, and I could check the balance in my account with my phone. So I seldom needed my bank document, and I did one more thing just in case. I bought a small safe to keep my husband's salary in. It's a very inexpensive safe, but it's a convenient safe that can be locked by entering a 10-digit PIN code. After my husband's paycheck came in, I decided to keep the money in this safe and transfer the rent and other expenses when it was time to pay. Otherwise, my husband would suddenly spend the money. To my surprise, my bad premonition came true. It happened one day.
Hey, I ordered something, and it will be delivered tomorrow, so you need to pay for it.
What? What's getting delivered?
A set of golf clubs.
What? What do you mean?
My boss and I were talking about playing golf, so I ordered a set online.
Wait a minute. How much did it cost?
$2,000 for the whole thing.
We can't afford that.
Why not? You're not doing a very good job of keeping track of the money, are you?
Your salary is $2,500 a month. After paying $2,000 for rent, you have only $500 left. With that $500 left over, we still need to pay for various other bills. And yet, $2,000 out of pocket is a negative amount. This is simple math. Why don't you understand? My husband's face turned red, and he got angry when I got emotional and said so.
Shut up! Don't make fun of me! If you can make ends meet on the take-home pay of $2,500, Then get out!
Hey, what are you doing? My husband brought my stuff from my room and threw it in the doorway.
You don't need to be in this house. Get the hell out of my house!
Saying that, my husband forced me out of the house. I can't believe it. I didn't realize he had no common sense at all. All right, I will get out. With that, I took the bare minimum of my belongings and left the house. I called my parents and explained the situation. I'm sorry, you've had such a hard time.
You can stay as long as you like.
My parents were so kind to me that I almost cried. I stayed at my parents' house and had a relaxing time for the first time in a long time. When I woke up the next day, I received many calls from my husband.
Hey, where's the key to the safe?
The safe?
Don't play dumb. It's that safe in your room.
You opened my closet?
We're a married couple. Do you have something to be ashamed of in there?
No, I don't. I'm upset that you opened my closet without permission.
I don't care about your personal life. Just tell me where the key to the safe is. I just received a set of golf clubs, and I have to pay for them.
That safe is a type that only opens with a PIN code.
What?
There's a keypad on the side of the safe. You have to enter the number on it to open it.
Then tell me the number quickly.
At this point, I had a nasty thought. No, I won't.
What? Hey, you've got to be kidding me.
It's none of my business if you are in trouble.
Hey, that's enough. You know what happens when you do this.
That's my line. I'm at my limit. I'm divorcing you.
What are you talking about?
Divorce is a given.
Are you serious?
Of course I am. I'm sick of you.
Oh, really? I'm sick of your cluelessness too. You're going to be in trouble from now on because you're a housewife and don't make any money. I won't forgive you if you come crying to me.
I'm not going to do that. Well, I'm hanging up now. I said so and forcibly hung up the phone. My husband then went through hell. I hired a lawyer through my father's referral, and the divorce was processed through the lawyer. My husband was very upset because he didn't think I was serious about divorce. He was reluctant to divorce until the very end. But when the lawyer told him that we would have to go to court, he suddenly freaked out and signed the papers. Then my husband took off on his own. The golf club bill and the rent bill came at once, and my husband called me in tears.
Please, either give me the money or give me the PIN number to the safe.
Since the divorce was final, and the money in the safe was my husband's salary, I gave him the PIN. But of course, he couldn't pay for both. So my ex-husband paid the rent and canceled the golf clubs. This made him hated by his bosses, and he lost his chance to get ahead in his career. In addition, my ex-husband had no savings, and the credit card bills came in one fell swoop. He had originally saved money because he had stayed at home all the time when he was single, and he had not been concerned about it at all during his previous marriages because his credit card was deducted from his savings when he used it. But when he tried to buy golf gloves, he thought it was strange because he couldn't use his credit card. He later realized that the reason was that there was no more money in his account. He had been using his credit card as usual without knowing that, and he had received a credit card bill for a considerable amount of money. My ex-husband immediately tried to ask his parents for help, but he had explained to them about our marriage and told them that we were getting a divorce. My in-laws apologized for their stupid son and said that from now on, they themselves would no longer spoil him. So they are ignoring my ex-husband without dealing with him when he asks for help. My ex-husband called me crying and asking me to help him as his ex-wife because no one would help him. I told him that I was a stranger now and that he should stop calling me, and I hung up and blocked his number. Then I heard a rumor that my ex-husband had quit his job, moved to a place with much cheaper rent, and was living a frugal life while working part-time. And I heard that he regrets his lack of common sense until now. I will never get back with him, but I think it's great that he's reflecting on his past. I hope that from now on, he will have a strong sense of finances and live a life that fits his budget. Meanwhile, I'm living peacefully with my parents while working from home. I told my boss that I would go back to work because of the divorce, but he said I could choose whichever I wanted, so I chose to work from home. I chose to work from home because I found it easier to concentrate on my work and achieve results. And recently, I have started a second job, which has allowed me to increase my savings quickly. I will continue to work hard and save money to increase my assets and make my life easier in the future. For now, I intend to save enough assets to semi-retire within 5 years.